Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to just take a quick look at the media coverage of the US midterms. Now, this is really the articles in the build-up until voting's sort of closed across the United States, I guess. But and then at that point, there's a tendency to switch to say actual, vote tallying and counts of who's ahead in which districts and so on. But I'm using in this case the Google search, but it could be others, I guess. But there's no there's no secret about where Google's sympathies lie. They're super pro-globalist and happy to put their finger on the scales to make sure that pro-globalist information. Now here's I'm going to start reading a few of them, but here's the top story. Now the top story is from a newspaper, an online media outlet that is hysterically anti-Republican and anti-Trump, and they're the top. They come to the top. Now they're not that bigger outfit, so in terms of if you looked at the top 100 in terms of readership, the top 100 media outlets in the world, these guys wouldn't appear in it, but somehow they end up as the very top story in the search. And again, coincidentally, happen to be hysterically anti-Republican, anti-Trump, or they're not necessarily pro-globalist in the sense of they support the globe, but they just happen to support all the globalist positions. And the globalists are using a lot of devices to divide and crush and destroy Western society. And these people support that. So that's this outlet supports that. So let's just have a little look at some of these articles here and what they're saying, and have a look at the spin they're putting on it. So let me see here if I can get this. Okay, so I'll do a sort of a summary here, but they start off by suggesting that Republicans are neo-fascist, neo-Nazi, rebranded KKK, and making these hysterical and ridiculous assertions. And they've got the black lesbian poster child who's saying, I'm so afraid because fascists will be everywhere. The Nazis are coming to get me. So ridiculous stories that are just plain absolute fucking nonsense. But they go on there. Now, if you questioned any previous elections, such as the 2020 election, and not only your election denied, but again, you're a Nazi, and it thoroughly debunked those lying fucking Nazis that say that the a mentally deficient candidate that never bothered to campaign and somehow got the most votes in the history of any presidential election. If you call that into question, you question it at all, you ask questions, then you're fucking Hitler. That's it. You are fucking Hitler. No question about it. Or Hitler's best buddy. In fact, I'm sure I saw Hitler going out the back door somewhere a moment ago. So they're any sort of querying of that now, but that what that means is those people that sort of they're calling Nazi election deniers, that the 2016 presidential election was definitely Russian interference. That's all there is to it. Vladimir Putin did it because he's a Nazi too. You see the connection, Nazi. So, ridiculous. Now, there's claims here of he's an illegal immigrant, an illegal alien in America who wants an abortion and wants the American taxpayer to pay for it. But she's going to have to travel out of state, she thinks, maybe, which is a lie, because she can have an abortion up to, I think, 18 weeks in the state she's in. So that's an out-and-out lie. They're suggesting she can't get one at all under any circumstances.
Now, why should an illegal alien be getting free abortions? And well, that's another matter altogether. But they skip past that and just present this as if Republicans win, who are all Nazis, then this poor oppressed, woman won't be able to get an abortion ever at all. And if she tries to get an abortion, she'll probably be taken out the back and torn limb from limb by Nazis. So again, a stupid representation. I mean, but that's the stories that ends up going to the top there. So silly scare stories there. Now, here's another one here from. Now, this is quite a large journal here on big online presence, and still has quite a substantial print version. And they're American, so they're definitely in the top 100 here. But they're, again, very anti-Republican. They make no bones at all about being a very pro-globalist. They're wall-to-wall globalist talking points. So now, women are going to be uniquely oppressed here. Again. There's a poor woman there being the journalist is a Jewish homosexual. So unfortunately, people are being, the voters think that the economy, the cost of living, how the economy's been sort of torn to pieces by COVID, how the paycheck isn't going anywhere near inflation, cost of gasoline at the petrol pumps, this sort of thing. The people have been sucked into being concerned about those sort of things by misinformation peddled by Nazis, when in reality the things they should be concerned about are climate change and abortion and the rooting out of all these evil fascists that are everywhere. Those are the things that concern. The cost of living, the fact that they can't pay the rent, that their kids have got no future. No. Those aren't the issues. The issues are women's rights, too much misogyny and this sort of thing. So slavery, and so they're pushing sort of these sort of vague moral issues, and that's what you're supposed to be concerned about. And if you are concerned about real world issues, then you're just really a victim of misinformation, disinformation that's being put about by all the fucking Nazis. Again, absurd and ridiculous sort of claims, but this is what they're leading with. Now, again, how did that story get to the top of the not only is it a crap story, but how did it get to the top? Surely if it's among a basket of stories representing sort of different views, but no, it's right at the top. So let's go on here. Now, this is, again, a big media outlet here. They've got mainly online. There's no real print presence here. They've also got news and radio stations. So here's the opening thing, that if the Republicans win in this election or gain majority here, then the US will turn into a hellscape of Nazis. Is it a hellscape now with millions of illegals streaming across the border, with the crime rates going hysterical in the big cities? People can't afford to heat their homes. Rent and mortgage prices are really. Is it a hellscape because of that? Because of the ridiculous COVID policies, the ridiculous energy policies? Is it a hellscape? No. It's a paradise now, because if the Republicans take control, then it'll be Nazis and there'll be no abortion. No, you won't be able to get abortion on demand any way you want, any time at the taxpayer's expense. And that is Armageddon. And the reason it's Armageddon is because it'll be done to you by Nazis. So, absurd claims here. Now, if again, same sort of talking point here, if the Democrats do lose, it's because of all the misinformation and disinformation put about by those fucking Nazis, because they're everywhere. They control the entire media. Wait a minute. Don't the globalists control the media? Well, they kind of do, but everything else is controlled by Nazis. Hitler personally is doing it's so ridiculous. You can barely sort of
read through this without saying, how did this shit even get onto the fucking page? But they cast everything about a victim, oppressor, and this sort of thing, and they stick to it. But if the it'll be a bad sign for the future of the world if the Democrats lose. Then they go to a black activist. They don't say he's an activist. They put him up as some sort of genius type independent, and so they're going to have to work together to push back against all these fucking Nazis. So now the key issues for voters should be abortion and climate change. Those should be the issues, and the glass ceiling for women. Wage equality, and these are the issues. Inflation and cost of living and all this sort of stuff. No. That's Republican, Nazi, fascist disinformation. No, you're going down the wrong path. You care about that. So I'm just reading on here, and they're being very careful to only quote people who say bad things about the Democrats. So only people who are pro-globalist and anti-Republican are accepted here. What Obama said, and Obama's warned that you got to get out and vote to stop the Nazis. Donald Trump here, he's an election denier. He was beaten fair and square by a fucking genius of a candidate who was smart, who was on the board, who campaigned non-stop throughout the whole election process, who had these fantastic policies that just brought the voters in, and he beat the Nazi because he's so fucking good. And that's how, and if Trump denies that, well, proof that he's a Nazi. So some really fantastic claims there. So Mr. Trump might run again, this article opines, and that'll be the end. I mean, fascist Ku Klux Klan, it's all wrong. No, I mean, Hitler. So no. I mean, the sort of things that these Nazis would do if they got control, they would use the Justice Department to go after their political opponents. Oh wait, that's happening at the moment. And the Nazis would then use for arbitrary arrest, manufactured charges, entrapment. Oh wait, that's happening at the moment with the Merrick Garland and the Democrats. Oh, okay. And they do things like take votes out in the back room and suddenly reappear, and all those votes will be 100% for one candidate. Oh, wait, that's already happening. So I don't know what the Nazis can do that's worse than the current. Maybe it's because they're already doing this, the globalist Democrats, and they just want to accuse everyone else of doing it, which kind of just blows smoke into the room so no one sort of knows anymore who's doing what and why. And it's an old tactic and one that's working. Now, Kari Lake is a Trump supporter. Straight away, Nazi. That's it. That. And she's going to fix up. If she wins the governorship, she's going to make sure that electoral integrity laws are firmed up, and so that there can't be any repeats of the 2020 fiasco. But the fact that she wants to clean up electoral laws and make sure that they're clear and concise and fully functional, the fact that she wants to do that means, you guessed it, Nazi again. So let's go on writing on here. She probably won't accept defeat if she loses because Nazi again. Now we're talking to voters in again, they've just been suckered in by disinformation about saying the economy isn't bad or the inflation's out of control, and cost of living's insane. They've just been sucked in, because if they really understood the issues, it would be abortion and climate change. Voters around here don't like Trump because he's a Nazi. And it just goes on. I mean, I don't need to go into it. It's the same stuff just being rehashed over and over. And now we've got, a radical activist homosexual talking head news announcer interviewing a black activist in the United States who says that the Nazis are everywhere. No, it doesn't challenge a word, doesn't challenge anything. Yeah, oh wow, Nazis good. We want to hear that. So, I'm just reading on here quickly to see if there's anything. No, it's all crap. But look, I think you get the gist of it. Every article here, every one that comes to the top of the Google search, every single one is very pro the Democrats, the globalist Democrats, and super anti the Republicans. There'll be here's one. Here's a black lesbian calling it, who's never misses the opportunity to say something negative about President Trump. The biggest issues are Roe versus Wade, abortion. This is the big issue. Why aren't people just voting on that? That's the big issue. There are people out there say something about the economy. It's not. That's the only issue, and climate second. So we got to be told what the critical issue is, and we got to vote accordingly. There's a picture of some overweight black people voting, so elections, of course, are held freely and fairly. But if those Republicans get in charge, the Nazis will be in control. There'll never be a free election again, ever. Only by having those reliable 2020 Democrats in charge can we have free and fair elections. And Donald Trump's false claims, thoroughly debunked claims, the election was stolen from him. And why did he say those things? Because he's a fucking Nazi. Now, I haven't seen a single, not one, in all these articles, not one positive comment, even neutral comment about Republicans or positive comment about Trump. That fault. Now it's got in this article here, which would be less than 1,000 words. There's got to be half a dozen claims. The former president falsely claiming neo-Nazis, and just goes on and on. So they are admitting here that cost of living issues are in people's minds, but people should think of the bigger picture. Again, climate change and abortion. Don't worry about your day-to-day details. Suffer in silence, you fucking Nazis, and vote on the big issues that we say are the big issues, not what the people think are, but what we, the globalist cabal, say are the big issues. So anyway, I've probably covered enough of that now, but really there's not one single article at that top list. I'll go back to that. I'll just refresh the page here and see if I can get something different to come up. So here's now another one. Joe Biden warns that if a lot of Republicans get elected, then it's a disaster for the country. All these candidates who are saying there was election fraud in the past, they're all Nazis and they're going to destroy society. Only the good Merrick Garland using the Justice Department, the FBI to go and chase after parents who've got legitimate complaints about homosexual sex being taught to primary school kids. The real issue is the FBI is to go after them as terrorists, and that those are the good guys chasing after those parents that are but those parents, if they're complaining about teaching homosexual sex to 5-year-olds, and you know what that means? It means those parents are homophobes. You know what that means? It means they're fucking Nazis. So they have to be gone after, and it's only those good guys, Merrick Garland and it's only those Democrat globes control good guys. They're the ones who it's the other guys who are the bad ones. In fact, I'll read this. There's grudging perception that the state of the economy is affecting people's decision on how they vote. And that will be an undermining of democracy. Democracy will be undermined when people vote and choose on the issues they think are important. That is an undermining of democracy, because when people vote for what they think is important, that plays into the hands of the Nazis. Whereas if they vote for what the establishment tells them are the things to vote, abortion and climate change, then they're being good people. But hey, if the voters vote on what they're concerned about, that's it. Nazis, Hitler. It's just how it is. I mean, have you heard anything so ridiculous in your life? And yet this is what's being pushed by now. This is an international media organization, one of the biggest, is pushing this crap. Voting irregularities and voting machine problems seized on by Trump election deniers with known fascist connections. There's been fact checks. Somebody said inflation was 10%, but it's not. It's 9.99. Fact check those fascist Nazi motherfuckers. And it just goes on and on here. Again, you don't see a single not a single positive mention here. In Maricopa County here in Arizona, there's been some malfunctioning vote counting machines. Now, this was a hotly contested area in the presidential election where there were alleged irregularities, which on the face of it not on the face of it, questions have yet to be answered on that. In fact, the authorities have gone out of their way to avoid answering those questions. There's a lot more scrutinies around this time. But if you say that those problems with tabulation are an area of concern, then again, you're a fucking Nazi. You're an election-denying Nazi. And there were claims among far-right figures that the failures may have been deliberate, but they're just fucking Nazis. You can ignore them. And it carries on again the same sort of thing. Again, nothing. Any person that votes for Republican has been duped by misinformation. It's just that simple. And all the media outlets are saying the same thing. So there could not be a more one-sided coverage of an election. And this is done by articles that are one-sided, but also the search engines making sure that those pro-globalist, anti-Republican articles are the ones that cover the entire first page. You've got to go to the second page before you even get to some neutral articles. You've been Tacitus today, your pushback. And by the way, if the Globalist project was so fucking good and everything's so fantastic, you wouldn't need to curate to this extent. You wouldn't need to. It would be such the Globalist project would be so good, everyone would be so on board with it that they wouldn't need to resort to these finger on the scales things at every turn. And the lies they tell, the lies. I mean, for goodness sakes. You've been Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.